Because I'll get a phone call. But not because they are. But my sister was always very hearty and healthy.
Okay.
My brother, all of us have allergies. My brother had allergies, and my mom had to go to school. There, different things. Blah, blah.
Sure.
So one day my mom was just watching because she had to leave to go to school and work, and my dad was, and my great aunt and grandma were all part of raising us. So she was leaving one day, and she tells this story about how she was crying because her son couldn't go out and play in the grass.
Oh,
like the sister, exactly. And she had to leave. It was a beautiful day, and she asked the Lord, please send someone. And she always says, could this son? She thought it would be a nanny. And then she got pregnant. And she says, for 9 months I fussed at God. Why? And she said it was just a short time later when we were toddlers, because there's a little distance between the siblings. And my sister's a little older. And my brother and I were playing in the toy box with 2 heads together. And she said that she realized that moment, that was the companion.
My Lord.
So it was a blessing for me.
Amen. Amen.
But I come from a family of professional musicians,
writers,
ministers on both sides of the family.
What you say?
Unity Baptist Church is my second
cousin.
Oh,
yes.
That's my second
yes.
cousin. So, yeah, that's all
the great Valmondista.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm at one of those churches on the hill.
Yes.
There's a whole lineup on Tireman.
Yes, that's right.
Of those churches.
Yes.
And block after block after block.
Yes.
Up to Dearborn.
That's true.
All the way from Livernois.
Yep.
To the end of that stretch. But right at the peak of that hill is Unity. That's it.
That is true. So that's where I come from. Educators and all that.
Wonderful.
So I grew up playing flute and violin. We all studied music privately. And each of us veered in a different direction. Musically.
Okay.
So my mom's a concert pianist.
Wow.
And for myself.
Wow. For your mother to be a concert pianist.
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah, it really does. She's fantastic. My dad had a beautiful voice, but he's the only one that didn't do it professionally.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 of us took lessons growing up, and I always wanted to sing.
Wow.
And I always say, since I was raised to believe that there are no limits.
That's right.
Because God
we can do all things. We can do all things.
Somewhere at 8 or 9 years of age, I decided to tack doctor on there. I didn't know what kind. I was going to be a doctor too. So I was going to be a veterinarian, different things.
Yes.
And so finally, it was psychology. So I am a doctor of clinical, organizational, and forensic psychology.
Forensic psychology.
And, yes. It's fascinating. I double majored in voice performance and psychology at undergraduate Marygrove College. And, each department would say to me, why don't you make the other one your minor and make this, and I always said, I'm going to do both.
All right.
I'm going to do both. And I was blessed to do both. So I went from that, Marygrove College, got my master's degree from the Center for Humanistic Studies, which is now the Michigan School of Professional Psychology.
Okay.
And that was a master's in clinical and humanistic psychology.
Wow.
And then I went on to get my doctorate in clinical and organizational psychology from the Union Institute in Cincinnati, Ohio.
My.
So that's the academic side. I continued to do music all along. And while I was a doctorate student, my sister and I started our first company, A.M. May and Associates.
Go ahead.
And it's counseling and consulting.
Excellent.
So,
So your clients probably include school districts or persons who work with families, children?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I had already had a background. Michigan is one of the few states that licenses you as a psychologist at the master's level. You have to work under someone who's PhD, but you can still do work. So I actually first went into private practice right after my master's degree.
Okay.
And so by the time we started our company, I was doing it for a few
And Michigan
years.
does that for social workers as well.
Yes,
yes.
That's true.
So I've had a social worker's license for decades because Michigan does that with psychologists and social workers.
Yes.
Even though I'm really a journalist, so my degree is...
You're so many. You're so many things.
Well...
so many things. But yeah, so I had done that for a while. But yes, as you say, we work with families and lots of things. We still have the company today, but we do more of the consulting side now. We always went back and forth, but more of the consulting.
Okay.
For myself, the forensic part, while I still had the company part-time, after my doctorate, I was like, the forensic house. That was exciting, so I had the opportunity to become a forensic examiner, which I was for 3.5 years at Recorder's Court.
Yep,
right at Recorder's Court, before they closed it. I was the last
It's a
hired.
disgrace before God that they close Recorder's Court. Don't get me started on Recorder's Court. It's just like taking away residency,
Thank you.
the illegal bankruptcy.
Okay,
The recorded. Well,
Yes.
you know, there was a lawsuit. I was a plaintiff in a lawsuit filed against the state of Michigan for closing Recorder's Court, which was the most celebrated court in the country.
That's right.
Had the highest number of black women judges,
Yes.
and it had the highest success rate.
Yes.
Why would you close the best
Exactly.
court in the country?
Exactly.
It was done for race reasons. Only
Yes.
folks who were unhappy with the Butts and Nevers verdict.
Yes.
It was a direct tie to that,
To
and
that,
that Governor English shut Recorder's Court down as a direct, and the legislature at that time.
Yeah. Now, by the time
Fallout from the
Fallout,
Malice
yeah.
Green murder, and Butts and
yes.
Nevers going to prison.
Mm-hmm. Now, by the time I came through, it was Third Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I came right
Right.
behind that.
Yeah.
But like you say, even still, more shutdowns.
Yeah.
And a good decade later,
Right.
I run into people that say those judges, you know, they wish you guys were still here.
Right.
The judges should open their
That's
mouths and said something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Because we were right there in the building, and I love doing clinical work, but I love this kind of work because the majority of what we did was not therapy. Of course, it was
Right.
you know, the evaluations and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I loved that position because you weren't working for the court. You were supposed to be, you know, in between. But with the weight of that behind you, you could really guide people
Excellent.
toward something, you know, more
It's
positive.
wonderful.
And I loved doing the work, and it was a shame that they closed it down.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So yes.
And you're also a writer.
I am also a writer. Yes. I have writers in my family too.
So what's the title of your book?
The title of my book, I'm not subtle. There's no subtlety happening here. Thank you for asking. Yes, I am a writer. The title of my book is Freedom.
What a great title.
Thank you.
Can't beat that.
That's right.
Come on,
Freedom.
freedom.
No.
Oh, freedom over me.
That's
Before
right.
I be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home
Thank you.
to my Lord and be. Anytime somebody mentions freedom, I go off on that.
I love go
Oh,
on
freedom.
That, please.
Oh,
Thank
freedom.
You. That's right. That's right. And we are free.
Yes, we are.
And the book is basically saying we're free even if we don't know it.
Come on now.
But the entire title is Freedom. What is the experience of living without negative self-imposed
Oh, I love
limitations?
it. I love
So
it.
the long title, thank you. And actually this was, even though I did a doctorate dissertation, back when I was working on my master's degree, this was my master's thesis.
I love it. Love it.
And the whom I adore, who has passed on now, but Dr. Ambaye Ramsey.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my mentors.
Wow.
Love that man, yes.
Wow.
And so he was the head of my master's, you know, my
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely chaired it. And in the first draft, even though I had editing to do, but in the first draft he said, "You've got to publish this."
I love
It's
it.
a great honor. So I did finally publish it, and this is available on Amazon.com
Okay.
and BarnesandNoble.com. But basically, what it was research, qualitative research. So I'd interviewed people and got their stories, and I loved doing that process. And basically, I was talking to people from different backgrounds, men, women, different ages, to find out if you were stuck at any point in your life, in any way, what was your journey from getting stuck to unstuck? And what I loved about doing this research was, even though every person had a different story, there were certain themes that came out. So within the book, there's a chapter that talks about those 7 themes.
Yes.
And all of us can learn and grow and apply
Yes.
the 7 themes. But that is
But having that kernel of affirmation,
yes,
staying positive,
absolutely.
and not going down into the depths of bitterness and anger
Absolutely.
and hatred.
So important.
Staying positive is a key
Yes, it is.
to keep the light on.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, keep the light on. That's
The,
right.
the Honorable Nelson Mandela, when he emerged after 27 years of horrific confinement, 27, could have come out bitter,
Absolutely.
filled with hatred. I know he, well-deserved animosity, but he came out sweet.
Didn't he?
Came out with a level of, he didn't forget, but he forgave. And in that forgiveness, he liberated
Yes.
his
Yes, he
ascension.
did. That's right. That's right.
And everyone has the capacity to do that.
We all do. We all do. And I love your term, the light on, because we do shut that light off, even though we've been given choice by believing what can't be, and so we never even explore all those possibilities.
And most of us are wrapped up in unforgiveness.
Yes, it is.
We have so many levels of baggage we carry when we fail to forgive.
Yes, that's true.
Because even though I just talked about anger, I forgive. I don't forget, I forgive. So
we do need to forgive.
I'm not holding a level of animosity that's going to block my access to higher ground.
That's right.
But we also have problem, many of us, forgiving ourselves. So if we would remove that stone from the tomb,
that's right.
roll that stone of unforgiveness away from our mental.
That's right.
It does something to open our spiritual gates.
It does.
And
It unburdens us.
Absolutely.
It certainly does.
Absolutely.
Speaking of something along those lines, I've also had the opportunity to be a co-founder and past 5-year president of the Metro Detroit chapter of the Black Psychologists Association.
Excellent.
And I mentioned that in terms of, thank you, it was an honor. I mentioned that in terms of, I almost want to say forgiveness, because the story of the Black Psychologists Association, back in the day, in the 60s, 50s, even before that, they were members of APA, American Psychological Association, which is huge, enormous, very powerful. They do lots of good things.
Yes.
But year after year, black psychologists of color would go to those conferences, those national conferences, saying,
and get nothing.
Yeah, you're doing wonderful things, but you're not addressing our community or what the needs are for black.
We've had other presidents of that association come out of Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, actually, the National Association started here.
Right.
The original in the 60s.
Right.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a few others names that are escaping me, but yes, absolutely. So,
Gloria.
that story. Mm-hmm. There were
Dr. Gloria Pitts.
Dr. Gloria Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Gloria
From
Pitts.
That famous Pitts family.
Yes, she's
Attorney Cornelius Pitts, one of the most significant attorneys anywhere in the land.
Absolutely.
And many members of the Pitts family who are all honorable servants and distinguished leaders in Detroit.
Yeah, they do so much, much. But like you said, we have to keep that light on and forgive those who, aren't treating us as we should be treated or listening, but still move forward and start our own.
Knowing that we don't have to seek revenge, because what is there is a great balance and equalizer that is the high above.
Yes.
So if somebody is digging a pit for you, they will fall into it.
Yes.
You better believe it.
Yeah, we do.
And you don't have to wait. You reap what you sow.
You do reap what you sow. That's true.
So there's a pit waiting on some folks right now.
I want to pray for them. That it's not too late. That they not be lost. Absolutely. I've been blessed to do many things, and some of those names that you mentioned, like Dr. Gloria and Dr. Pat Wallace, and all those people were my mentors.
My.
All those people.
My.
So I had the cream of the crop.
What you say?
That was a wonderful blessing, and that I didn't miss them. That I had that opportunity. On the music side, first of all, I married my husband.
Yes.
He does become your husband. What's his name again? Just joking. I married my beautiful husband, Richard Donaldson Scott. Got to give that shout out. In 2003. Mm-hmm. We'd been together. I've known him since I was little. Because our families went to the same church, and as a teenager, he sang in my mom's choir and all that.
And you both sing?
We both sing.
Yes,
he has a beautiful voice, and he's a saxophonist and a writer and all that stuff. He doesn't brag about, but
talk about evenly yoked.
Oh, it's okay.
Hello.
And not you don't see that every day.
No, you don't.
That's a blessing. And we've sung together, performed.
Love it.
But after we married in 2003, I started my second company, Celeste Productions.
Go ahead,
Incorporated. Yeah, Celeste, exactly. In 2004, and released my first album as well, and it is called same kind of theme. The book's called Freedom. The album is called No Limits, because we have no limits.
No, we have no limits.
No limits. So I released that. That is available at cdbaby.com / Angela Celeste May.
All right.
It will be available again next week, because we recently sold out, so that's a good thing.
Wonderful.
That's a good thing.
Wonderful.
So it's available a few places, but definitely CD Baby. And I produced and wrote everything on it, all except for the last song, which was My Littlest Child.
Oh my,
the
my,
Negro
my,
spiritual motherless child, which I performed with my mom on piano.
My. Oh my!
Yes, so that's
how
precious
touching
to me. Very precious. Yes, absolutely. So so that is out there, and one of the songs that I wrote on the album, my philosophy about the voice in particular,
yes,
is, and I fuss at singers also because I'm a voice coach as well, and even some of my fellow professionals, treat your voice like the instrument that it is. It is an instrument.
Yes.
And too often vocalists will say, well, I need someone to. It's like, well, no, your voice, you can stand in the wilderness.
That's right.
Some of the most beautiful music that was ever created was, all other instruments are based on that voice.
That's one of the reasons is our queen, the Honorable Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
Who I love and respect, and her late father, Reverend Dr. C.L. Franklin. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons our queen, Aretha Franklin, has continued to earn accolades and continues to perform around the world is because she takes care of her voice.
Yes, it's so important.
I bear witness to her telling people to turn the air conditioner off when I'm here.
Yes, that's right.
And she'll do, programs in churches. Can't have the air conditioner on.
That's right.
Open the windows.
That's right.
Because it damages
the voice.
her instrument.
That's exactly.
And
exactly. She knows.
She goes into a hotel room. Turn that. There's got to be a special caretaker.
Yeah, that's right.
To nurture your instrument.
Exactly.
And if you don't do that, then you've got a short tenure.
Exactly. You have a short tenure and physical problems
That's
and all
right.
kinds of stuff that
That's
we
right.
don't hear about from singers, but it happens all the time.
And so, you don't smoke, you don't drink,
That's right.
you don't scream.
That's right. I was going to say, even the way you use your speaking
That's
voice.
right.
That's right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And it's just good to value the gifts God has given us.
It is. And we've been given so many that I think we don't tap into. I was just thinking that's one of the things that I tell my music students, but I'm also faculty at Wayne County Community College in the psychology department.
Yes.
And I've taught on various levels for a lot of years, and I always include everything that I do in the little bio, and I do it purposely because I want them to know that if you're doing music, you can do psychology, you can do
That's right.
there are no limits.
That's
once
right.
Again, so important.
That's exactly right.
Important. Yes.
Now, if you had some advice you wanted to give to you're still a young woman, but if there's some younger people viewing us right now on black-owned television in Detroit and Highland Park, or anywhere around the world, this is also mainstream web stream, who may be trying to juggle their thoughts about what they want to be.
Yes.
What would you tell them since you did not settle for just one thing?
That's right.
You're doing multiple things and doing them all well. What advice would you give them today to follow their dream?
That's a wonderful question, and I do get asked that question. One of the first things I always tell people or ask people is, what do you love to do? I always say, do what you are, do what you love. And it's a little bit cliche when they say if you never got paid or if you were just in a room by yourself, would you still do it? So start there.
Yes.
That's one piece of advice. The second thing I would say is don't try to, even though I do multiple things, I don't always do everything at the same time. So you don't want to burn yourself out.
Right.
So I'm a real planner. So think short term, think long term. For example, I knew that for a time, working on my master's and my doctorate for the psychology,
right.
I knew that for a period of time, I continued to perform here and there, but the music would have to be a little bit to the side while I put more energy into that.
I understand.
And then at other times, once that got established a bit, then the emphasis flipped a little bit. I could put a little more time in development. So I would say, be kind to yourself.
Oh, I love it.
We have to take time for ourselves and de-stress, and don't beat yourself up. You've got to become your own best coach and appreciate what God has given you.
Oh, I love it.
And, I jokingly say, well, not really jokingly, we only have about 112 years on this earth. It ain't that long. We ain't got that much time. We have things to do. But even still, try to always prayerfully plan it out so that you don't have to do it all at once. But I know I will get to that. At what point, I don't know yet. I'm praying about that, but let me continue to move forward and work on this.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's some of what I'd say.
Now, before we close out, I just wonder, is there something you might share with us, a snippet of some musical piece that you can do a cappella?
Okay, let's see. Well, I started to mention the care of the voice and treating the voice like an instrument.
Yes.
Because there's one song on my album, and I'm working on the second one right now, by the way.
Excellent.
And there are 2 performances coming up real quickly. May I mention them?
Yes.
Very briefly? One is there is a pre-Mother's Day celebration on the first Wednesday of May.
Okay.
And that's May 6th. And it's going to be at Bert's Place.
Oh my!
And it's it's especially special because we're celebrating Mother's Day, and I'm performing with my brother and my mom. So it's a trio. So we're going to do that.
I bet they're going to hear sometimes. I feel like a motherless child.
They may hear a little of that. Yes, yes, absolutely. And the other performance is in June to celebrate Black Music Month with my band.
Amen.
So, but getting back to a song, there's a song that on the album that celebrates the voice as instruments, and it's Richard and myself, my husband and myself, and only percussion in the background.
Wow.
And the song is Be Yourself. Let's see if we can do a little bit of that.
Okay.
Don't keep hiding who you are. Don't don't be concerned. You know what you are. So that's a little bit of that one. Thank you. And the last thing, I'll do 2 seconds of Motherless Child.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long ways from home, a long ways from home.
It's all right now. Oh my! I get a hand wave. Oh. That black church hand wave.
Yes.
Praise be to God.
Thank you.
My. Well, that alone, that snippet was worth the price of admission. Dr. Angela Celeste May. And please extend our greetings to your wonderful husband, whom we also love and respect.
Most definitely.
And we thank God for all that has been planted in you. And you are reaping a rich harvest because of the seeds that have been planted. And we thank God for you. We want to thank you for being a wonderful, special guest on Wake Up Detroit.
Thank you.
Thank you for your contributions to this community and this nation. And please give a happy Mother's Day greetings to your sweet mama.
Absolutely.
All right. Giving God the praise for our sister, our guest, Dr. Angela Celeste May. We want you to continue to lift up, learn from the inside out. Don't expect everything to come from external. The real power is internal because there's a Christ within you. I want to remind you that Billy Paul and the Stubbs girls will be on stage Mother's Day. Leave it better than you found it. How about it? Wake up, Detroit.